What's up, guys? It's Biohazard Candy Kid here. I'm sure that a lot of you know about Eddie Van Halen and his death, uh, and I'm sure a lot of you don't. But it's been a few days now, and I want to tell you, I'm a I'm a big fan of Van Halen. After AC/DC, I would say Van Halen comes second. I'm gonna talk about him just a little bit. I've done a lot of research my whole life about Van Halen. As a matter of fact, uh, the state I live in, California, that is basically where Van Halen lived as a child. Um, his parents were Dutch and stuff like that, and they came here and they had kids. You know, I can't remember too well, but I think he was born in Holland, but he came here when he was like 2 years old, something like that. Him and his brother, basically him and his family. And starting at an early age, he got into playing drums, but he didn't have a knack for it too much, and his brother got into guitar, so they switched instruments. And basically, when he got into guitar, that was it. He never looked back. Now he was versed. Uh, he like played a bunch of different instruments, but guitar was his calling. He was basically a guitar god, you know, and stuff like that. And actually, I'm deeply sad by his death. Um, I wish he wouldn't have died. I wish other artists of at least today's era of music would have died. And the reason is because Eddie Van Halen was a real music artist. I mean, a real music artist. Okay, he wasn't Beethoven. In a sense that he was in an era when computers were making music. In the 70s and the 80s, they had a bunch of synthesizers. They had, electric guitars, electric pianos, which is what we call keyboards. But he was Beethoven in a sense that he was a master. He was someone who played guitar at a very early age. His brother played drums at a very early age. All the other people in his band uh, sang or played guitar, bass at a very early age, and they were masters at it. And I mean, they were prodigies and stuff like that. You know, um, I love the band a lot. I listen to their music a lot, not daily. That doesn't mean I'm not a fanatic about them, but I listen to the music a lot. Uh, if you guys listen to Eruption, that is the greatest guitar solo in the world. And no one has replicated, like, no one has made a better guitar solo after Eruption. Uh, it's just a god piece. It's Eruption is the. I'll tell you this. I have a friend. I haven't seen him. I don't have his number. But I got his number a long time ago. But where I used to live, um, I had a friend who Well, I don't have his new number, but I had a friend who I used to hang out with, and he had a friend who played guitars. And this kid in high school, as a freshman, or I was, I think, already like or maybe it was middle school, or maybe the last year of middle school, first year of high school, but I was in my like second to last or last year of high school. He had a friend who played guitar, and one of the guitars he had was basically a flying V, a V-neck guitar, a V-style guitar, and he owned, quite a bit of guitars, acoustic, electric, and I think maybe a few bass guitars. And one day he came over to my friend's house, and me and my parents were there, and my friend's parents were there, and we were all having lunch and stuff. And he wanted to show off his skills. Right then and there, I said, you know what? He should be in a band right now, or at least create his own band. But the number one thing that I said is this is Eddie Van Halen number two, in the sense that this guy played with his feet. He could play backwards. He could play all of like Eddie Van Halen's stuff like perfectly, even stuff from other guitarists or bands. He did a talent show close to the high school I went to. Right across the street there was an elementary school, and he did a talent show there. There was like I guess there was an event there, and my friend was there and his sister was there, and his friend was coming, and he did a talent show and he showed off his skills. Man. And later this gentleman ended up going to a band, and I was like, thank goodness. I mean, playing with his feet. I mean, Eddie Van Halen could do that. And that was the only other person that I thought could become like another Beethoven. But like my point is Eddie Van Halen did things that no one today could do. And I'm talking about no one knew. I mean, sure, sure the guys from Megadeth, or the guys from Slipknot, or some of the bands that started in the 70s and 80s. I'm sure they could do what Eddie Van Halen did, you know, because they are at his level by a bit. But Eddie Van Halen was a guy who was just higher than everyone else. I mean, you could say he's Jimi Hendrix number two, but he's up there with Beethoven and Mozart, Haydn and Chopin. He's up there with Hard Floor, which is an acid house group. I mean, he's up there. And yeah, now he's up there in a better place, or wherever he is. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents in about Eddie Van Halen and stuff like that. I know his son is devastated. I know that his brother's devastated. I mean, the whole band's devastated. But I think his son's going to carry on his legacy. I think his son's going to carry on with the band. Um, maybe recruit new members once the older ones pass on. You know, but I'm deeply sad about this. It's hit me hard. I don't know when I'll recover. And I don't want people to take this as, oh, he's one of those guys who, he's in these celebrities. Oh, look at him. He's mainstream. He's not a woke person. Well, I love making music, and I have my favorite musicians. My favorite musicians are not based off of, oh, I'm into the Access Hollywood type stuff. No. I base my musicians off of if they're true musicians and like they really play a guitar. I'm not saying that people on Fruity Loops who make a guitar riff using a VST is shit. No, because there's people who make great music on Fruity Loops and they're real musicians and they plug in a keyboard and they make great melodies and they're professionals and they are just like the old school musicians of the 80s, 70s, 1800s, 1700s. They make great music. But then there's millions of them who are just shit because they just buy the program and they just like Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy, he took the basic stuff for Fruity Loops and made something that is shit. There's a guy on YouTube who recreated the same stuff. He showed you how Soldier Boy did it. So, so I base I pick my musicians based off a certain criteria. I don't just like all musicians and like all music. The only music I don't like is country. That's it. Uh, and stuff like that. Now there are shitty versions of all the other music I like. I just don't like the shitty versions of it, like hip hop music. I don't like trap, but I like gangster rap. Okay, so Eddie Van Halen, you know, okay, I put him second from AC/DC. I'll put him first actually. I'll put Van Halen first, just like AC/DC. They are together. They are in the same basket. After that, the rest of the rock bands, uh, Megadeth, Metallica, Iron Maiden, Red Hot Chili Peppers, U2. But Van Halen and AC/DC, top notch. Can't beat them. AC/DC is really my number one. I mean, they're in the same basket, but like AC/DC is the top. And once Brian Johnson, you know, or Phil Rude, well, once those guys go, I'm gonna do a big video about AC/DC, a big one. I've played all their songs. I listened to them. I have their Back in Black album. Uh, yeah, you would think that I have a bunch of CDs of them. You think, but of course, back then I just didn't buy their music. That doesn't mean I'm not an AC/DC fan. It does not. No, you're like, oh, you talk big about AC/DC, but you only have their Back in Black album. Because I kept buying techno music. That's like my favorite go-to genre. I bought so much of it. House music, trance, hardstyle. But because the internet is here, I listen to AC/DC. I go on YouTube, I listen to it. Um, so when that happens, I'm gonna do a big video on it, a big one. Oh, you bet. Uh, but Eddie Van Halen, he hit me. When my mom sent me a text message about what happened, oh, I cried because we lost a very important and very great musician. It's like losing Beethoven. It's like if I lost Brian Johnson from AC/DC. It's like if I lost any one of the guys from Hard Floor. It's like if we lost Jesse Saunders. He's someone who, in the house music scene, is the father. He is big. He is. He's been there since at least late 70s. So I'm still sad. I'm watching things about him. Uh, let's see. Gene Simmons from Kiss. I saw a video. I haven't finished it yet, but he's talking about him. because he met the band in the 70s when they were just getting started. So I mean, and all of the rock bands that were around the 70s and 80s and 90s, you bet when they go back on tours, when they do their little shows, big shows, you bet they're going to pay tribute. And some of the guitarists are going to play, things that Eddie Van Halen played. Watch, you bet. This isn't over. He's Eddie Van Halen, you know, he made some other artists in other genres of music famous. Like, go look up Michael Jackson and Eddie Van Halen. I don't like Michael Jackson. I hate all his music. But just go look it up and you'll see, that whole connection. Eddie Van Halen, he basically he did things in the 70s. Eddie Van Halen did things that nobody was doing. I mean, Jimi Hendrix, okay, he did a lot of stuff that Kiss did later on, you know, and some things that Eddie Van Halen did, but Eddie Van Halen was an originator. He was a pioneer. I mean, because the way he played, okay, the sound that Eddie Van Halen created in the 70s and 80s was the sound that a lot of metal bands would use in the 80s and 90s. I guess you could say he was the inventor of like metal. He's like AC/DC. AC/DC, they invented hard rock. Before that, hard rock didn't exist. There was soft rock, there was disco rock, there was all these, other rock, punk rock. And AC/DC created a whole new form of rock called hard rock. Eddie Van Halen did the same thing. He created metal. Jimi Hendrix was doing metal before Eddie Van Halen, but Eddie Van Halen really, I guess you could say, was the father. And correct me if I'm wrong. I would like you to correct me if I'm wrong. And if you're a musician, a true musician, and you've been a musician your whole life, correct me. Okay? I would like you to correct me. Because if I'm wrong, because you corrected me and I'm wrong, I will admit it. I will do a video saying, hey, I was wrong, and stuff like that. So I truly, and so basically, not I truly, sorry. And so basically, like, without Eddie Van Halen, you wouldn't have a lot of the metal bands that you had in the late 70s to the 80s to the 90s to 2000s. So I want to put my 2 cents in about Eddie Van Halen. I will miss him. I will miss him. I want to tell you guys some things. Uh, I guess these could be personal to me, but maybe not personal, because maybe other people have these same thoughts. So I have a guitar, and I've had I have had two guitars. Well, I had another guitar before this one. I had an acoustic, but I have an electric, and it's just a cheap one. One of those kits that you get for $150. At Guitar Center. It comes with a guitar, amp, pick, stuff like that. It's a Starcaster from Fender, and I always wished, because Eddie Van Halen was from California. Of course, he lived here, stuff like that. I always had wished that he was my teacher. Like, I wish, that I was living in the 1800s and Beethoven was my teacher. If Eddie Van Halen was my teacher, that would have been real awesome. If he just was like, hey, don't worry about it. I'll be your teacher. You're my friend. You know, if that was the case, oh, man. That would be really awesome. That would have been awesome. I would appreciate every moment with that. Just like if Brian Johnson or Phil Rudd, or whatever, If AC/DC, one of the band members was my teacher for playing guitar or any instrument, that would be cool. Or vocals. So I wanna I wanna shed a little bit of light for Eddie Van Halen. I want to take this moment to just give in to Eddie Van Halen a little bit. I know that a lot of people are gonna say that, hey, look, come on, man, that's that's just a, that's just a distraction to what's going on. I already know that, but someone who makes music, and someone who loves music and loves Van Halen, that's hit me hard. And I know a lot of you probably gonna say, or a lot of you are gonna say or think or whatever in the comment section, I wonder when, I wonder what's gonna happen when his parents die. Basically, my parents or my brother. That's gonna hit me hard too. Don't think that I'm one of these new millennials that is like, oh my gosh, Eddie Van Halen died, ooh hoo hoo, and then my family dies, and it's like, who gives a shit? Um, no, that's not true. That's not me. Telling you right now, my family dies, same shit's gonna happen. I'm gonna be deeply sad. Mom, dad, brother. Even if the other person that's with me in my life dies, I'm going to be deeply sad. Okay? If my woman dies, I'm going to be deeply sad. But right now, Eddie Van Halen died, and I'm getting through it. But he's just one of my, he's in my heart. The band's in my heart. His son, his wife. Never met him, but I always listen to him. Their music is great. So go listen to the music. Um, if you haven't heard Van Halen, pretty fun band, pretty awesome. Their music is great. It's excellent. All right, well, that was my 2 cents. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, hit that bell notification, and I'll see you guys in another video. All right, this is Biohazard Candy Kid. I'm gonna be signing out. Peace.